Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Always excited to be back.
Today we're wading into a topic that can be a little bit tricky for couples.
Oh, yeah.
Money.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, we're going to be looking at Ramit Sethi's book, Money for Couples. It's all about how to navigate finances as a team and build that rich life together.
Yes.
Even when you have those differences in opinion about money, they can sometimes cause friction.
Absolutely. And you know what's really fascinating about Ramit's approach is that he doesn't just, dive straight into the, practical tips and tricks.
Right.
He actually goes deeper into the psychology
Oh, interesting.
of how we handle money,
Okay, yeah.
especially within the context of a relationship.
Yeah.
So he talks about these things called money dynamics.
Money dynamics, okay.
And he highlights some common patterns that a lot of couples fall into,
Interesting.
like the chaser-avoider dynamic.
Exit or avoider.
Or the parent-child dynamic.
Oh, wow.
I know it sounds like we're talking about, wildlife out on the savannah.
I know. Those are some pretty evocative labels. Can you unpack that a little bit? Like, what does he mean by chaser avoider?
Sure. So imagine this. You have one partner who's constantly, pushing for those financial discussions, wants to, sit down, look at the budget, talk about investments.
Yeah.
And then you have the other partner who's basically dodging those conversations like a gazelle, running from a lion.
Okay.
They're just like, nope, not going to go there. And that's classic chaser avoider.
I see.
And it creates so much tension because one person is feeling anxious and the other's feeling pressured.
Yeah, you can see how that would get out of control pretty quickly.
Exactly. And he also talks about this other dynamic called the innocent dough enabler.
Oh, interesting.
So this is where you might have one partner who's maybe less involved in the finances.
Okay.
They might even play up their lack of knowledge as a way to sort of avoid responsibility.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I can see that.
Right. And then the other partner steps in and kind of takes over, manages everything. Right. But in doing so, they might actually be enabling some, overspending or avoidance on the part of their partner.
Ah, so it's like a tricky dynamic there where it's, on the surface, it might seem like one person's being really responsible, but it might be masking something a little deeper.
Yeah, there can be some resentment that builds up over time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it sounds like step one is figuring out, which one of these dynamics you and your partner fall into.
Absolutely. Awareness is key.
Because otherwise you're just you're going through the motions, but you're not really addressing the underlying issue.
Exactly. You got to understand those patterns.
Right.
See where the friction's coming from. And then Ramit actually gives us a framework for how to start having these conversations.
Okay, great.
In a positive way.
Right.
It's called the First Amazing Money Meeting.
First Amazing Money Meeting. Quite a name.
I know. It's all about framing. Because, so often when we think about talking about money as a couple, it's like, uh-oh.
Here we go. It's a chore. It's something you have to do.
Exactly.
And it already starts on a negative.
And so he says, instead of saying, we have to talk about money, try saying this, you know what, honey? We get to talk about money today.
Yeah, I love that.
It's bringing that enthusiasm, right?
Yeah.
You're focusing on the opportunity.
Right.
To grow together, to align on your goals.
Yeah.
Not just, potential for conflict.
But reframing a chore.
Totally.
As like a team building exercise.
It is. It's like we're in this together.
Right, exactly.
We're going to tackle this. It's going to be fun.
Right.
Yeah. And he also highlights the power of language.
Okay.
Because certain words, they're just like instant triggers,
Yeah.
Like the word budget.
Oh.
Or credit card bill.
Oh, yeah. I can see that.
Just hearing those words, people shut down, they get defensive.
Right.
It's like fight or flight mode.
Yeah, you're not going to have a productive conversation when you're coming at it from that place.
Exactly. So by being more mindful of the language you use, you're creating a safer space for open dialogue.
Yeah. Even hearing you say the word budget, I was like, ooh.
Right. It evokes like this visceral reaction.
Yeah,
it's like, oh. So he actually suggests a very clear structure for this first meeting.
Okay, so he's giving us a script, basically.
He is. So you start by expressing excitement about having this conversation. Then you talk about your individual feelings about money. Where do those feelings come from?
Okay.
What are your hopes and fears?
Mm-hmm.
And then you move into envisioning the future.
Okay.
How do we want to feel about money?
Yeah.
5, 10 years from now. And finally, you wrap up by outlining the next steps.
Okay.
Concrete actions.
I like that because it feels very step by step.
Yes.
Less overwhelming that way.
That's the point, right?
Yeah.
He's breaking it down.
into manageable chunks.
Yeah, great.
Encouraging teamwork.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, I want to go back a little bit.
Sure.
Because before we even get to those big, sit-down money talks, what about those couples who are, like, early on in the dating phase?
Ah, yes.
Right? Like, you don't want to scare someone off on a first date by, like, whipping out a spreadsheet.
Not a good look.
No. And being like, so let's talk about our investment portfolios.
Right. Too much too soon.
So how do you navigate those early money conversations?
Well, Ramit's advice is to weave it in organically.
Okay.
So instead of, making it this big formal thing,
Right.
find those natural opportunities to talk about money as you're getting to know each other.
So like what? Give me an example.
Sure. So let's say you're planning a trip together.
Okay.
That's a great way to start talking about, financial styles and preferences without making it feel like an interrogation.
Gotcha.
Right. So it's low stake.
Exactly. It's like a trial run for navigating financial decisions together.
You kind of get a feel for how the other person thinks about money.
Exactly.
Their habits, their priorities.
Yeah, and even then, being mindful of the language you use is still important.
Okay, so instead of saying, let's create a budget for this trip.
Yeah, that's a buzzkill.
You could say, I'm thinking about how we can, make the most of our money on this adventure.
There you go. Much better. Right.
It's collaborative.
It's exciting.
It's fun.
Exactly. It's not restrictive or judgmental.
Okay, cool. Now, beyond those kind of initial, surface level money conversations, I want to get into something a little bit deeper.
Okay.
Because I think a lot of couples struggle with those unspoken issues, those kind of money ghosts.
Oh, the money ghosts, yes.
Right. The things that are kind of lurking beneath the surface.
Exactly.
That can really sabotage a couple's finances. So how does Ramit address that?
Well, he talks about these things called invisible scripts.
Invisible scripts.
Okay. And these are basically subconscious beliefs about money that we've picked up over the years, from childhood, from past experiences.
Okay.
And they can have a huge impact on how we handle our finances.
So it's like money baggage.
It is money baggage. We're all carrying it around.
Right. We might not even be aware of it.
Exactly. And he uses this really great analogy of someone reaching for a specific snack at the grocery store. Not because they're hungry, but because it reminds them of, a comforting childhood memory.
I get it, yeah.
Right. It's that emotional connection.
Yeah, a little bit of nostalgia.
Exactly. And so we have these automatic responses when it comes to money.
Right.
But if we're not aware of them, they can lead to conflict.
Yeah, especially if you and your partner have different scripts.
Exactly. Because you're coming at it from these totally different places.
Yeah. Right. So like someone who grew up with a lot of scarcity around money might be like hyper-focused on saving.
Yes.
Whereas someone who grew up in like a more affluent household might be more comfortable spending freely.
Exactly. And if they're not aware of those underlying scripts, it's just going to lead to misunderstandings and arguments.
So how do you like identify and overcome those invisible scripts?
Well, awareness is the first step.
Okay.
Right. You got to shine a light on those patterns, see where they're coming from. And then Ramit introduces this really cool framework called the 4 money types.
The 4 money types. I like it.
And this is basically a way to understand your individual financial personality.
Right.
So we have the avoider, the optimizer, the worrier, and the dreamer.
Okay. I'm already trying to figure out which one I am.
I know. Everyone does. So let's break them down.
Right.
The avoider, as the name suggests, they avoid anything to do with finances.
Yep.
They dodge money conversations.
They might even avoid opening their bills.
Oh, I know some people like that.
Right. Or refuse to check their bank balance.
Oh, yeah. Ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance is bliss, exactly. But you can imagine.
Yeah.
That creates a lot of tension.
Oh, absolutely.
In a relationship.
Yeah.
Okay, then we have the optimizer.
Okay, the optimizer. Tell me about them.
So they are all about maximizing every dollar.
Okay.
They love finding deals.
Yeah.
Tracking spending meticulously.
Right.
Tweaking their budgets.
Yeah.
For peak efficiency.
All right, I'm getting some optimizer vibes myself.
They thrive on systems, but sometimes they can get lost in the details.
Okay.
So
it's about finding that balance.
Right. It's about the big picture, too.
Okay. How about the worrier? I'm a little afraid to hear about this one.
So the worrier, they are constantly stressed
Okay.
about money,
Okay.
even if they're financially secure.
Oh, wow.
Right. They might fixate on small expenses
Oh.
or obsess over worst-case scenarios. That sounds exhausting.
It is exhausting.
Right, both for them and for their partner.
Exactly. It's hard to enjoy
Yeah.
any kind of financial stability
Okay.
when you're constantly in that state of worry.
Yeah, for sure.
And then last but not least, we have the dreamer.
Okay, the dreamer. This sounds a little bit more fun.
A little more fun, right? So the dreamer has grand plans.
Right.
They're ambitious.
Okay.
But they might struggle with the practical execution.
Okay.
So they envision
Right.
lavish vacations, early retirement.
Yes.
But maybe haven't actually taken those concrete steps
To make it happen.
to make it happen.
Yeah.
So they need a little bit of a nudge.
Okay, I feel like we all have a little bit of each of these types in us.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. It's not like you're purely one or the other.
We're a mix.
It's like a spectrum.
It is. It's about understanding which tendencies
Right.
are most dominant
Yeah.
in you and your partner.
Okay.
Because then you can approach those money conversations with more empathy,
Right.
more patience.
So if I'm an optimizer married to a dreamer,
Yeah,
knowing that can help us, like, bridge the gap
totally.
between my meticulous planning
Yes.
and their big picture aspirations.
You got it. It's about seeing those differences as strengths,
Yeah.
not weaknesses.
I like that.
Right. You can complement each other.
Absolutely. Use those differences to your advantage.
Exactly. Build a stronger financial partnership.
Let's love it. Now, speaking of partnership,
Yes.
I want to shift gears a little bit
Okay.
and talk about this concept of the rich life.
Yes. Central to Ramit's philosophy.
Right. And it's not just about, having a lot of money.
No.
Right. It's about something bigger than that.
It's about designing a life
Okay.
that truly aligns with your values
Right.
and brings you joy.
It's about prioritizing experiences,
Yes.
relationships,
Yes.
personal fulfillment,
Absolutely.
alongside, of course, financial stability.
Right. You need that foundation.
Right. You got to have that base. But it's about something more than just, the numbers in your bank account.
Exactly. It's about living a rich life.
Right. So how do couples, actually define their shared vision?
Well, Ramit suggests this really fun exercise called the 10-year bucket list.
In your bucket list. All right, I'm in.
It's a good one. So basically, you sit down together
Okay.
and you identify those experiences
Okay.
that spark irrational joy.
Irrational joy. I love it.
Right. It's those things that
Yeah.
really make you come alive.
Yes, it's about those things that light you up.
Exactly. So it could be traveling to a specific destination,
Uh-huh.
starting a business,
Okay.
learning a new skill,
Yeah.
or even just spending more quality time with loved ones.
Awesome. See, that's what I love about this. It shifts the focus away from, material possessions.
Yes.
And onto those experiences, personal growth.
Exactly. Those things that truly matter.
So it's like creating a shared compass
It is a compass.
to guide your decisions.
It gives you direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, okay, this is what we're working towards.
Right.
This is what lights us up. Now let's make sure our financial decisions
Yes.
are aligned with that.
And speaking of financial decisions,
Yeah.
that brings us to this concept of money dials.
Oh, the money dials. Yes.
I'm intrigued. Tell me about this.
All right. So imagine you have these volume knobs
Okay.
on a sound system.
Uh-huh.
You have your yes dials,
Okay.
and these represent the things you love spending on.
Okay.
And then you have your less dials,
Yeah.
and those are the areas where you're willing to cut back.
All right. So if travel is a yes dial for a couple,
Yeah,
they might be willing to turn down the less dial on dining out or buying new clothes.
exactly. It's about being intentional.
Yeah.
Right. Making sure your spending is aligned with your values.
Right. With your vision.
Exactly. And Ramit gives all these great examples
Okay.
from real couples
Okay.
who have gone through this process. Uh-huh.
And, found those compromises, those creative solutions
Yeah.
to align their spending.
Makes sense. But what happens when couples have, conflicting money dials?
Ooh, that's where things get interesting.
Right. Because that's bound to happen, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You're two different people.
Two different people, different priorities.
So how do you navigate that?
Well, it comes back to communication
Okay.
and a willingness to compromise.
Right.
And Ramit actually offers a framework
Okay.
for navigating those disagreements.
Okay.
It's not about one person dictating the terms
Right.
or feeling like they're constantly sacrificing.
Yeah, nobody wants to feel like they're losing out.
Exactly. It's about finding that middle ground.
Right. Yeah.
That feels good for both partners.
Okay. So it's like any relationship challenge, right? It requires that communication, that empathy.
It does.
That shared commitment to finding a solution that works for both of you.
Absolutely. And to really drive home that sense of partnership.
Okay. Ramit encourages couples to understand their net worth as a unit.
Okay. I can already hear some listeners groaning.
I know.
Because calculating net worth can be intimidating.
It can. But he provides this really simple 30-minute exercise to do together.
Right.
It's not about spending hours poring over spreadsheets.
Right.
It's about getting a snapshot of your combined assets.
Okay.
Investments, savings, and debts.
So it's establishing a baseline.
Yes.
So you know where you are.
Exactly.
As a couple.
Right. And you can make those informed decisions together.
I like that. It's very much in line with that collaborative spirit that he emphasizes throughout the book.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of practicalities.
Yes.
I'm curious to hear what he recommends in terms of, like, the actual systems.
Oh, yeah. Let's get into the nitty-gritty.
Right. How do you actually manage finances as a couple?
So when it comes to managing money as a couple, Ramit actually recommends a pretty specific account setup.
Okay.
And it's designed to, simplify things.
Right.
Hopefully reduce conflict.
Make it all run a little smoother.
Exactly. So he suggests one joint checking account.
Okay.
Several joint savings accounts for specific goals.
Mm-hmm.
And then individual checking.
Right.
And savings accounts for each partner.
Whoa, hold on a sec. Multiple accounts for everything.
I know, it sounds like a lot.
That sounds like a recipe for, like, mental overload. How am I supposed to keep track of all that?
But think of it this way. It's like having, labeled containers for your money.
Okay.
So your joint checking, that's where all the income flows in.
Right.
Like the money inbox.
Right. So everything goes in there first.
Exactly. And then from there, you allocate funds to those different savings goals.
Okay.
Investments, bill payments, and so forth.
Okay. So that makes sense for the shared expenses, the shared goals.
Right.
But what about those individual accounts? What's the purpose of those?
Well, those are for personal spending.
Okay.
Individual goals.
Got it.
So it gives each partner a sense of autonomy.
Yeah.
You can indulge in those yes dials.
Right.
Without having to, constantly justify every purchase.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So it's kind of like it strikes that balance between shared responsibility.
Exactly.
But then also having that little bit of, like,
freedom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Financial freedom, personal freedom.
Exactly.
Right.
And it can actually really help minimize those, like, petty arguments, about who spent what on what.
Right, right. Because you have your own little pool of money that you can,
Guilt-free spending.
Guilt-free spending, exactly. I love that. So, yeah, it's a framework that promotes transparency, teamwork.
Love it.
And to streamline things even further.
Okay.
Ramit is a huge advocate for automation.
Automation, my favorite. Set it and forget it, right?
Exactly. Why do the work when technology can do it for you? Exactly. Work smarter, not harder.
Right. So he encourages automating bill payments, savings contributions, even investments.
Great. So it's all about taking the guesswork out of it.
Totally. And the temptation. Right.
Right. Because if it's automatically happening, you're not, like, tempted to dip into those funds.
You're less likely to make those impulsive decisions.
Exactly.
That derail your long-term goals.
Awesome.
He says, and I love this quote, he says, "You don't save and invest what's left. You save and invest first."
Ooh, I love that.
Right.
It flips the script.
It does.
Because usually it's like, oh, at the end of the month, if I have anything left over.
Yeah, then you save it.
But this is like, no, prioritize that saving first.
Pay yourself first.
Yes. Love that.
Now, even with a solid system, right? Automation in place, couples still need to, check in regularly.
Absolutely. Because life happens.
Right. Things change.
Right. Financial situations change. Goals evolve.
Yeah, you might have unexpected expenses pop up.
Exactly. You can't just set it and forget it completely. You got to revisit it every once in a while.
Yeah.
So how do you stay on top of things?
Well, Ramit emphasizes the importance of the monthly money meeting.
Okay, so it's like a scheduled money date.
It is a money date.
Okay.
Dedicated time.
Right.
To connect, review your finances.
Another meeting? This guy loves his structured conversations.
He does. But these meetings don't have to be tense or formal.
Okay, good.
He provides a clear agenda.
Right.
And you start with a compliment.
Ooh, okay. I like where this is going. Starting with appreciation.
Yes. Setting a positive tone.
That's much better than launching into a debate about the grocery bill.
Right. Acknowledge something your partner's doing well financially.
Okay, yeah, start on a good note. All right, so you start with a compliment, then what?
From there, you review your conscious spending plan.
Okay, wait. Back up a second. What is a conscious spending plan?
Ah, good question.
Because it sounds different from a traditional budget.
It is, because Ramit believes that budgets, those traditional budgets with all those restrictions,
Yeah.
deprivation,
Right.
they often backfire.
Okay.
People rebel.
Yes, they feel restricted, they feel deprived.
Exactly. So the conscious spending plan, it's about empowering you
Okay.
to make intentional choices
Okay.
that align with your rich life vision.
So it's more about being mindful
Yes.
about where your money's going.
Exactly. Spending on the things that truly matter to you.
Okay.
Guilt-free.
I like that.
And then consciously cutting back in other areas.
So it's not about deprivation, it's about, prioritizing.
Exactly. It's about choice.
Okay, I like that a lot. So you review the conscious spending plan.
Yep.
You start with a compliment. What else happens in these money meetings?
So you check on the progress towards your savings goals, and you discuss any outstanding financial issues.
All right, so this is where you get into, the nitty-gritty.
Exactly. Any concerns, any disagreements,
Right.
air them out.
Okay. Now, even with a positive start, a clear agenda, these conversations, they could still get heated.
Oh, absolutely. Money's emotional.
Right. So how do you keep things from, going off the rails?
Well, that's why clear communication is so important.
Okay.
And a shared commitment to finding solutions.
Right.
These meetings are not about blame.
Right.
They're not about pointing fingers.
It's not about winning or losing.
It's about working together as a team.
Right.
To achieve shared financial goals.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like a regular checkup
It is a checkup.
for your financial health.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
just like a medical checkup.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity to catch small issues before they become big problems.
Exactly. Early detection is key.
It is.
I like it. And I think at the end of the meeting, you're supposed to end with, another expression of appreciation, right?
I guess a little boost.
A little boost.
Reinforce that partnership.
Right.
Remind yourselves that you're on the same team.
I love that. Even if you've just had, a really difficult conversation.
Yeah, end on a high note.
End on a high note. I like that. Okay, so we've talked about those regular check-ins. But Ramit also encourages couples to think bigger.
Oh, yes.
Right, to embrace what he calls big thinking.
Big thinking, yes.
So I'm all about big thinking.
Yeah.
What does that look like in the context of finances?
So it's about shifting your mindset
Okay.
from those short-term anxieties
Okay.
to long-term planning.
Right.
Proactive decisions.
Yeah.
It's about understanding the power of compound interest. Investing for the future.
Right.
Not just for today.
It's about playing the long game.
It is the long game.
Right. Not getting caught up in those day-to-day fluctuations.
Exactly. Don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah. Don't sweat the small stuff. Okay. I like that a lot. It's empowering and also a little daunting.
It is. It's a big responsibility.
Yeah. But I see how it can lead to making those, more confident choices.
It does.
Because you're thinking about the bigger picture.
You have that vision.
Yes.
You have that plan.
Love it. Now, let's get into some, nitty-gritty tips.
Okay, let's do it.
Because I know a lot of couples struggle with things like investing, managing debt. What are Ramit's key takeaways in those areas?
So when it comes to investing, Raymond actually keeps it pretty simple.
Okay.
He focuses on low-cost index funds.
Okay.
The power of compound interest encourages a long-term approach.
Gotcha.
Rather than trying to time the market or pick individual stocks.
Right, so it's more about steady growth.
Steady growth, consistency.
Consistency, okay.
Not about those risky gambles.
Right, slow and steady wins the race.
Exactly.
What?
Now, for tackling debt,
Okay.
he outlines a clear 3-step process.
All right, love a good 3-step process. Lay it on me.
All right, so first, gather all your debt information.
Okay, so know what you're dealing with.
Know thy enemy. Interest rates, balances, all that good stuff.
Okay.
Step 2.
Okay.
Prioritize paying off high-interest debt first.
Okay.
While making minimum payments on lower-interest loans.
So it's about targeting the most expensive debt.
The most expensive, yes.
Okay.
And then, step 3.
All right.
It's about considering the opportunity cost of paying off that low-interest debt too quickly.
Okay, so explain that.
So you might actually be better off investing
Right.
that extra cash.
Okay.
And potentially earning a higher return.
Okay, so it's about being strategic.
Strategic, exactly.
Not just like throwing money at whatever debt you have.
Right, because sometimes that low-interest debt, it's not actually hurting you that much.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you're better off putting your money to work elsewhere.
Exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Now, even with the best planning, the best systems, the best automation, life happens.
Life happens, yeah.
Right. Unexpected things come up.
All the time.
So how does Ramit address those unexpected financial challenges?
Well, he introduces this concept of failure expectation.
Failure expectation. Sounds a little negative.
I know, it sounds kind of doom and gloom, right?
Yeah.
But it's not about being pessimistic. It's about being prepared.
Okay, so what does that actually mean?
So it means anticipating potential setbacks.
Okay.
Job loss, unexpected medical expenses.
Right.
Even, a global pandemic.
Oh, yeah, we've all been there.
We've been there. He encourages building in buffers, safety nets into your financial plan.
So it's like having that emergency fund.
It's like an emergency fund for life.
Yeah. Okay, I like that.
Right. So by planning for those potential failures, what you're doing is you're reducing anxiety.
Okay.
And you're empowering yourselves to navigate those challenges with more confidence.
I love that. It's a mindset shift.
It is a mindset shift.
It's about taking control instead of letting fear dictate your choices.
Exactly. You're in the driver's seat.
Okay, great. Now, amidst all this planning, preparation, Ramit also reminds us to celebrate those milestones.
Yes, you got to celebrate the wins.
Because let's be honest, sometimes finances feel like a slog.
It does. It can be a grind.
Right. So you need those moments to be like, yes, we did it.
You got to acknowledge those achievements.
Right. Give yourselves a pat on the back.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be, anything extravagant.
Right.
It could be as simple as enjoying a nice meal together.
Okay.
Taking a day trip.
I like that.
It's about recognizing the progress.
Okay.
Enjoying the journey.
Not just focusing on the destination.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to further reinforce those positive habits, those shared values, Ramit encourages couples to establish their own personalized money rules.
Money rules. Okay.
Tell me more about that.
So think of these as like your financial constitution.
Okay, like the ground rules.
The ground rules, exactly. Those guidelines.
Okay.
That's simplified decision-making.
And keep you aligned with your goals.
So give me some examples. What would like a money rule look like in practice?
So they can be as specific or broad as you need them to be.
Okay.
It could be something like, we always contribute 15% of our income to retirement savings.
Okay, so that's very specific.
Very specific. Or it could be, we limit dining out to twice a week.
Okay, so it's about setting those boundaries that work for your specific situation.
Exactly. You're taking ownership of your financial choices.
I love that.
You're establishing those clear guidelines to stay on track.
Okay, great. Now, even with all this great advice, strategies, sometimes couples might need a little bit of extra guidance.
Sure.
So what does Ramit say about seeking help from a financial advisor?
So she recommends considering an advisor if your financial situation is particularly complex.
Okay, so like what? Give me an example.
So like if you're navigating a blended family.
Okay, yeah, that's complicated.
Lots of moving parts. Or maybe you're managing a significant inheritance.
Right. So in those situations, it might be worth getting that professional help.
Exactly. But even then, he emphasizes choosing the right advisor.
Okay, because not all advisors are created equal.
Right, you got to do your research.
So how do you find an advisor who's like really looking out for your best interests?
So Ramit strongly advises looking for a fee-only advisor.
Okay.
So this means they charge an hourly or per project fee. Rather than a percentage of your assets.
And what's the advantage of that?
Well, fee-only advisors, they're less likely to be swayed by commissions.
Okay.
And they're more incentivized to prioritize your financial well-being.
So their incentives are aligned with yours.
Exactly. They're on your team.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And finally, for those of you raising a family, Ramit dives into the crucial topic of raising money-savvy children.
That is a whole other deep dive. But could you give us a little preview?
I can. So he stresses the importance of open and honest communication about money from a young age. Involve kids in age-appropriate financial decisions. Teach them practical skills.
Yeah, like what kind of skills?
Budgeting, saving, even investing.
Wow, starting them young.
He even shares a fun story
about
taking his niece and nephew to Disneyland.
Oh, wow.
And giving them each $50 to spend.
I bet that was an eye-opening experience.
Oh, it was. He observed how they approached the challenge, revealing those unique money personalities, decision-making styles.
So even kids have their own little money types.
They do.
That's so fascinating.
It is, and it highlights the importance of, nurturing those individual tendencies.
Yeah.
But also instilling those healthy financial habits.
Absolutely, starting early.
Exactly. And throughout the book, he gives all these practical tips, resources for parents to have those conversations.
Awesome. So it's not just for couples, it's for families as well.
It's for everyone.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here. From those initial money conversations, defining your rich life, to building a system, navigating disagreements, raising those money-savvy kids.
It's comprehensive.
This book really does have it all.
It does. And what I really appreciate is that Ramit doesn't just focus on the numbers, right? He goes into the psychology of money.
Yes.
Helps couples understand those emotions.
Right, because it's so much more than just the numbers.
It is. It's those beliefs that drive our behavior.
Exactly, and that's so important to acknowledge.
Yes.
Because if you don't address that, you're just kind of, putting a Band-Aid on the problem.
You're not getting to the root of it.
Exactly.
You got to dig deep.
All right, so as we kind of wrap up this section, what are some of those key takeaways that resonated with you personally? What really stood out as being, particularly insightful or impactful?
For me, one of the most powerful things was how much he emphasizes the emotional side of money.
Yeah.
He doesn't just tell you, what to do. Right.
But he really delves into the why. Why do we behave the way we do around finances?
Right. Yeah.
What are those underlying beliefs and experiences that are driving our actions?
Yeah. And I think it's that understanding that really allows for lasting change to happen.
It's not just about the surface level tips and tricks.
Right.
It's about transforming your relationship with money from the inside out.
Absolutely. And I also, I loved his emphasis on automation.
Oh, automation is key.
Right. It's so simple, but so effective.
It really is, especially for those of us, who maybe struggle with consistency.
Right. Exactly. Or just like, life gets busy.
Life gets in the way.
You forget to do things. But if you've got it set up on autopilot.
Yeah, it's taken care of.
You don't even have to think about it.
You're less likely to make those, impulsive decisions.
Right.
That derail your goals.
Yeah. And speaking of, things that can derail your goals, I thought his advice on handling social pressure around money was super insightful. Oh, that's a big one.
Right. Yeah. Because it's so easy to get caught up in comparing ourselves to others.
Oh, my gosh, especially nowadays with social media.
Right. Everyone's always, showcasing their best selves, their, lavish vacations.
Yeah, like this constant highlight reel.
And so you start to feel this pressure to keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught in that trap.
And I thought it was really interesting how Ramit talked about, defining your rich life.
Yes.
Based on your own values.
Absolutely. It's personal.
Not on what society tells you.
It's not a one-size-fits-all.
Right, exactly. It's about what truly brings you joy.
Exactly. And I loved that story he shared about how he faced scrutiny for choosing to rent instead of buy a home.
Even though he could easily afford to buy.
Yeah. And people were giving him a hard time about it.
Yeah.
Like, why aren't you buying? You're so successful.
Right, right.
But for him, it just wasn't the right choice at that point in his life.
And it highlights this idea that, no matter your financial situation, there will always be opinions.
Always.
And judgments from others.
That's right.
And so you have to be really firm.
Yes.
In your own convictions.
It's about owning your decisions.
Yeah.
Not letting that external noise derail your plans.
Absolutely. All right, before we wrap up completely, I wanted to touch on one more thing that I found super insightful.
Okay.
And it was how much Ramit focused on. The power of conversation.
Yes.
And connection within a couple.
It's a relationship book just as much as it is a finance book.
Right. It's about strengthening that bond.
Totally.
Through open communication and those shared goals.
Absolutely. And I loved that tool he introduced, the Wheel of Emotions.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Tell me about that.
So it basically encourages couples to identify and discuss the feelings they experience around money. And this could be, excitement, anxiety, guilt, even shame.
Right, because money can bring up all sorts of emotions.
Oh, it's so loaded.
It's so loaded.
And often, those emotions are coming from
right.
past experiences, deeply ingrained beliefs.
Right, that money baggage we talked about earlier.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is like a way to actually acknowledge
Yes.
those emotions, understand where they're coming from.
Bring them out into the open.
Yeah, like financial therapy.
It is, for couples.
And then you can start to work through them together.
Absolutely, because once you're aware of them, you can start to challenge them.
Right. I also thought it was really interesting how he distinguished
Yes.
between our money story
Yeah.
and our actual financial situation.
Oh, that's such an important distinction.
Right. So can you explain that a little bit more? Like, what is our money story?
So your money story is basically the narrative.
Okay.
You tell yourself about money.
Okay.
And it's often based on
Right.
childhood experiences, ingrained beliefs.
So it could be something like,
I'm not good with money.
yeah.
Or money is the root of all evil.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so these kind of limiting beliefs
Limiting beliefs.
that can hold us back.
Exactly. And often we're not even aware of them.
Right.
They're running in the background,
Yes.
influencing our decisions without us even realizing it.
Right. It's like a little financial gremlin
It is a gremlin.
sitting on your shoulder whispering.
I can afford that.
Right, those negative thoughts.
It's get broke.
Yeah, money's bad. All those things.
Exactly. So the first step
Yeah.
to overcoming them is recognizing them.
Okay.
Shining a light on them.
Right, becoming aware of them.
Yeah. And Ramit actually provides
Okay.
a process
Mm-hmm.
for identifying, challenging, and ultimately rewriting those beliefs.
I love that.
Right. It's about taking control
Yes.
of that narrative.
Shifting your mindset.
From scarcity to abundance. Recognizing that you have the power to change your relationship with money.
Absolutely. And through that whole process, you've got to celebrate
Celebrate everything.
those milestones, right?
Yes.
Whether it's
Good or small.
right, paying off a debt, reaching a savings goal, or even just having a productive money conversation.
Absolutely. Acknowledge those wins.
Yeah, where you don't end up arguing.
Exactly. Because it reinforces those positive habits. It keeps you motivated
Yes.
to keep going.
It's about recognizing that progress, however incremental it might be,
Yeah.
and enjoying that journey
Enjoy the ride.
of building a rich life together.
Yes.
Well, I think we've done a pretty thorough deep dive
I think so too.
into Ramit Sethi's Money for Couples.
We covered a lot.
We covered everything from those first awkward money conversations to creating a shared vision, establishing those systems,
Yeah.
navigating disagreements, even raising those financially savvy kids.
It's a jam-packed book.
It really is.
Full of insights, strategies, and a lot of encouragement.
So as we wrap up, what's one final thought you would leave our listeners with?
I would say remember that money is a tool.
Okay.
It's not a master. Approach it with intention, communicate openly, and don't be afraid to dream big.
Beautifully said. And to our listeners, we encourage you to take one small step today towards building your rich life together. Whether it's scheduling that first amazing money meeting, identifying your money dials, or just, committing to those regular money dates.
Make it a priority.
Make it a priority. Start that conversation and keep the momentum going.
You got this.
And remember, you're not alone on this journey. There are resources out there, like Ramit's book, his website.
Tons of great advice available.
To help you along the way.
Definitely.
So keep learning, keep growing, and keep building that rich life together. Until next time.
Bye, everyone.